Hey there, my name's Danny Leibrandt, and I'm the founder of Pest Control SEO, where we grow pest control companies with SEO. Today, I'm with Chris Panteli, who is a kind of digital PR expert who is running currently a link building agency for higher tier companies. So he's the co-founder of Linkify. He's been running it for about 4 years, and they do super high quality, super high DR links and just everything regarding PR, link building, really growing your reputation and authority as a company. So it's going to be kind of interesting to hear his perspective. I've had a lot of SEO experts, but not necessarily anyone that's, a PR expert, or I guess you could call it a backlink expert, but I really like to think of it more as like relationship building. So I think this will kind of be a good perspective into the other side of things where, I love on-page SEO, but there's so much to do in off-page SEO, and like, how do we really kind of drive that home? So yeah, thanks for coming on, Chris. Super excited to learn from you.
Thank you for having me, Danny. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm looking forward to it.
Definitely, man. So I know you started Linkify about 4 years ago, but can you tell me what you were doing before that?
Yeah, sure. So to go all the way back, I went to university with a degree in economics. And then when I came out of university, I did what most half Cypriot people do in Britain and took over the family business of fish and chips. So I could take away fast food restaurant. I always wanted to have my own business, and I'd worked in and around the shop since I was like 13 as like a part-time job and stuff. And I didn't really know what to do after university. I've always been interested in business. I tried to do like an upstream degree, make it broad, like economics I thought would set me in a good footing to do something, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I had this opportunity to take over a fish and chip shop, which I did. And I ran that for about 10 years with everything going nicely, growing the business, introducing like new products. But as we approached maybe about 18 months, 2 years before the pandemic hit, I started noticing that there was rapidly rising costs. The industry itself was changing, just an absolute influx of competition from the big name brands all the way down to, like small mom and pop, pop-up takeaway places, all these different cuisines. And then you had the changing in eating habits as well. You had the delivery apps. So that the whole industry was getting battered, for want of a better word. That's what we do in the fish and chip shops. We batter the food. So it was getting battered from every angle. And I did what a lot of people do. I think I found some places online that were discussing making money online incomes, these blog reports that you used to see a lot of a few years ago. And I started an affiliate site, and I started making like $1,000 a month pretty quickly. I was doing my own link building. I came across this thing called link building, which I was aware was an important ranking factor and would allow me to make more money. So I started doing HARO, which actually has just been killed. If you've been following the news, it's just they've just announced that they're going to close down. It went from HARO to Connectively, and they've just announced the death of it. I think next month. But yeah, this was like a way to connect journalists with experts. And then it would allow you to give expert commentary to a journalist that was working on an article in a high tier publication. And then if they quoted you, you'd have a good chance of them linking back to your website as well. So I was doing this for my own website. Didn't get anything at first, kept practicing, kept honing my pitches, changing my response time, getting better at doing this, and started landing some really good links. At the same time, I knew that like my inner page, my money pages would need some like direct links, as opposed to like domain branded links, which is what you mainly get from like HARO and PR requests from journalists. So then I started to embark on a guest post campaign, and then as the blog income was justifying to do a little bit of outsourcing, that's when I met my now business partner, and I said, look, I want to, I've got these pages that are making some good money. I want to get some guest post links to them. So he said, yeah, and hired him to do that. And he looked at my link profile and said, hey, where have you got like all these huge links like Forbes and New York Times and New York Post, Business Insider. How did you get these links? I was like, oh, I've just been answering journalist requests on HARO. And he was like, do you think you could do that for some of my clients? And I was like, I don't see why not. As long as they let me pitch as them, then yeah, I could do that. So we did that, and we started getting his clients some really good, like amazing links. And then we started getting like referrals, and then more people wanted us to do it for them. And then we just organically got to a point where we were like, hey, could be a real business here. So we formulated Linkify and started doing this full time. After I got diagnosed type 1 diabetic just as the like pandemic was kicking off. So then I was like, okay, if I can make this work and I can get off my feet 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, then it's a real opportunity. And yeah, the stars aligned, as it were, and here we are now.
Wow, that's so awesome. And okay, so now you've been running at Linkify for about 4 years. Tell me about kind of the evolution of Linkify, how it started, where it is now.
Yeah, so we started off with quite predominantly in the affiliate space. Obviously, I'd come from like an affiliate background. That was like my first website. I'd met like affiliate influencers, and we were predominantly doing that inbound digital PR link building via a journalist request. So HARO is that sort of umbrella term which people used for that sort of link building. HARO is by no means the only platform. There's lots of other places you can find journalists sourcing for expert commentary. So Press Plugs, Response Source, Editorial, Quoted, loads of places. They'll do it directly on Twitter. They'll use hashtag journo request. But yeah, that's predominantly what we were doing for our clients in the affiliate space. And that's the way that we grew the agency as well, is by connecting with people in the affiliate space, building them some free links for their affiliate websites, and then seeing if they would promote us to their audiences. So that worked great. We sensed that the affiliate space probably wouldn't be around in the form that it was forever. It can be a bit spammy, not the best of content. So we were already looking at other communities, other verticals to do this sort of link building for. And at the same time, that's when we started building out our outbound. So rather than waiting for the journalists to ask for expert commentary, that's where instead we would build a list of journalists and take the story to them. And that's when we started working and looking to work with people in like the SaaS, e-com space, and local services as well is one of the best. I personally think local service businesses don't realize how primed they are for digital PR. And yeah, as time's gone on, that's the direction that we're heading, and the clientele that we're getting. And yeah, we're doing expert commentary inbound and outbound campaigns. Yeah, it's going well.
Awesome, man. Tell me more about that. Tell me why local service businesses in particular are so primed for PR.
Yeah, good question. First and foremost, it's what people are interested in like news cycles. So it resonates with so many people. You know, pest infestations, when you have like high heat wave periods of time and you're getting all these bugs in your homes. When the winter is approaching and you've got pipes that might freeze over, you want to hear from plumbers. You want to hear from auto mechanics on how to stop your windshields freezing. It resonates on such a personal level that it's stuff that journalists want to write about because it gets eyes on content. People read it, people click it, people share it. And people that run local service businesses are absolute experts at what they do, and therefore their opinion is 100% valid. They're highly credentialed in their opinion. You know, it's not just some guy who runs an affiliate website selling pest control equipment, but really they're just like an SEO. They're just, you know, churning out content, buying and building links in order to rank that content. Someone who owns a pest control business is a pest control expert, and therefore if they're going to give you expert commentary or give a story about how to get rid of pests or protect your home from pests, if it's a certain time of year or it's something that's happening in the news cycle, it's ticking all the boxes for that to do well, for them to get quoted, and for them to win links back to their websites.
Awesome. No, I think that's a really good point that people actually don't fully understand is that, like, for instance, in the pest control space, a lot of these guys have several certifications in pest control. A lot of them have been doing it at least 10 years. Maybe they work for their dad's company, or they work for Orkin or Terminix, or, someone. Most of the guys that I've talked to have a long history and experience in the game. And especially not just being an expert in pest control, but being an expert in pest control in your area. So, like, if you've been doing pest control in Chicago for 20 years or in Miami for 20 years, like whatever it is, everything there is to know about pest control in that area. Like, it's so, like, almost no one knows better than you as the company owner, who have probably actually done some of the technician work. And now you probably have some technicians. Now you're hearing all the stories from them. And now, I don't know, all the different seasonality and, okay, maybe this certain pest comes every 10 years. So I think that's a really good point. And that's kind of what these journalists are looking for, is experts, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And it can seem like an intimidating proposition if you think about, like, let's say like a guy who's had a pest control company for 20 years, his dad ran it before him, and you start talking to them about, hey, digital PR, we can get you in the media. They might be thinking, like, why, I'm not Beyonce or, sorry,
yeah.
Terrible reference point, but, I'm not like some celebrity that's going to be in the media, but that's not what, like, a lot of media is. It's human interest stories, and it's stuff that people want to know about, and especially regional stuff, like you said. Like, if Chicago gets hit with a certain type of weather once in a decade, and it brings about a certain type of pest, like, that is so newsworthy and so relevant to that particular region, that you can either wait for a journalist to be looking for an expert to comment on an article that they're doing in a particular regional piece, or you can put together a story, like a tips piece, once in every 10 years, weather hits, these pests are going to come, this is how you stop it. Like, people are that regional area is going to run with that story, and they are going to 100% be confident to quote that expert, because they are an expert. Like, they are an actual expert in that subject matter.
Yeah, definitely. Could you maybe tell me a story, or like some real life examples of what doing PR for a local service company looks like?
We do really well with expert commentary, and outbound as well. But expert commentary, inbound requests from journalists is so prevalent, because so many tier one publications are writing about roofing, plumbing, pest control, legal expertise, dentistry, medical. They're writing about these stories all the time because they do well. And they are in the news cycle, like, frequently. It's just a churn of that sort of content. And when you take a local service client, first thing that we do is we look at the credentials, we look at the positioning of that person. So unlike SEOs who have multiple website properties that are producing content in order to rank and make money, like, these local service guys, they look 100% like who they are. Like, if they've got a LinkedIn profile, that LinkedIn profile will reflect, like, this is a pest control expert from the Chicago area, and all of his connections are like with people that they would be within that industry. And journalists now more than ever are looking to have verifiable people that they're going to quote within their publication. So this is actually something which these guys can do themselves as well. Like, obviously, it's great to outsource it to an agency like us if they don't want the stress and the headache of doing it. But they can do this 100% themselves by scouring these opportunities, waiting for something to be relevant to them to come up, and then putting a pitch together and saying, hey, look, I'm an expert. I'm a pest control expert. I'm a roofing expert. This is my company. This is my LinkedIn. And this is my opinion on what it is that you've asked. And they're going to be well ahead in terms of the competition, and have a real good chance of the journalists liking their comments, including their comments in their article, and linking back to their local website.
Yeah, awesome. Is there a certain level or threshold of expertise that you need? Like, if you like, realistically, if you just started a pest control company like a year ago, and you're not too familiar, maybe you've been in it for like a few years, is there like a certain level of expertise you should hit before doing PR?
That's a good question. With with industries that require qualification or certification, then you should have that certification. You shouldn't like just have no. I'm not 100% familiar with the pest control laws of the US or Canada or whatnot, but for example, in the UK, to be a plumber, you have to be certified and have certain qualifications. So if you've got those qualifications, then you can legit call yourself an expert, even if you've only newly qualified. You have the qualifications which certify you as an expert and gives you the right to perform those duties, those tasks within that industry. So yeah, as long as you're qualified or you meet the threshold of the requirements of qualification for that industry in that territory, then call yourself an expert. And do PR, do inbound, start answering journalist requests, follow journalists on Twitter. Threads is a good place. Join the free platforms. And look for expert commentary. If you haven't got any expertise and you've just started a pest control company, let's say you're the founder or you're the money guy, and you're not a pest control expert yourself, you're just the operations manager, then don't go on and say I'm a pest control expert because I own a pest control business, but actually you don't do any of the pest control yourself. You've just hired people. Get those people that have got the qualifications to put forward that commentary on behalf of you and your business.
Yeah, cool. Okay, that makes sense. Something I want to make sure to kind of dive into is HARO. So, I mean, you're touching a little bit before on like the death of HARO and, all these other things. Can you first just explain what HARO is?
Yeah, so it was started by a guy called Peter Shankman about 15 years ago. It started off as a free thrice daily email blast, Monday to Friday. And it would be a curated list of requests from journalists looking for expert comments to include within an article that they would be writing. The subject line of each request would be like what the article's on or what the request is. So it could be looking for a plumbing expert to give me some tips on how to prevent pipe freezing in this like unusually wild winter or whatnot. And it would often tell you the name of the publication that it was going to be in, maybe Real Homes or House Beautiful or Realtor.com, let's say, big tier 1 publication. And then it would give you the specific requirements of that request. So it may say, I'm looking for a certified plumbing expert, or I'm looking for a certified plumber, or I'm looking for a US-based plumber, or I'm looking for a Chicago-based US plumber. So it would give you the requirements, and it would maybe have more specific questions as well. And then it would give you the ability to click a reply link, which would be an anonymized reply back to the journalist, where you can then put your information, your response, and send that back to the journalist. And then you wait to see if you get any follow-up questions from the journalist. You wait to see if the journalist doesn't follow up with you but includes your comments in the article. It could take a few days, it can take weeks. We've won links where we pitched for a client 6 months later, it's gone live. So obviously you're at the behest. The journalists are at the behest of the editorial calendars of the publications that they work for. May go through a series of rounds of editing. Maybe a really, really big publication, and for whatever reason, the journalist loved your comments, included your comments, but the article got dropped from the editorial calendar for whatever reason. But yeah, cut and dry. That was the functionality of HARO. Free to subscribe, free emails 3 times a day, 5 days a week, and you would jump on there and do your replies and try and get coverage and win links. Then it became a pay-to-play transition. So it got bought out from Peter, continued for a number of years in the same guise that it was originally in. But as obviously AI became more and more prevalent, it became a lot easier for people to go, well, hang on, I can send like 20 responses in 5 minutes here just by putting the question into ChatGPT, not even reading the answer and sending it back to the journalists. So all of a sudden the journalists were getting bombarded with spam garbage, and the company that bought it, Cizian, they made a decision to transition it away from a free email based activity over to like a dashboard based UI pay to play platform. So you'd pay like a nominal fee per pitch, $1 or $2, something like that, and you would look at opportunities in real time and then reply via the dashboard. So this went on for, actually I think it's been about a year, either a year or a year and a half, maybe 2 years, something like that. But in the interim, for the past like 6 months, the original founder of HARO, Peter Shankman, he actually restarted the exact same format of his original HARO under the name SOS now, which is Source of Sources. And I think we're going to see an influx of the people that are going to be leaving the now defunct Connectively and going back to that original format that Peter started. And that's all 100% free. And it's done in the exact same way. So it's email based and it's 2 or 3 times a day, 5 days a week.
Awesome. Just for people that aren't familiar, HARO, usually when you see it, it'll be in all caps, HARO, HARO, and it stands for help a reporter out. So that's like the whole basis of it really, is that reporters are looking, or, maybe journalists, whatever, same thing, are looking to report on something. And usually they want some expert input because that makes it much more quality content. If you can have like a local expert, or I don't know, like if you're writing on SEO, then you'd want an SEO expert's input and say like, hey, this thing that you're talking about, it's 100% valid. And that makes it much more quality content. So yeah, in that sense, I used to love HARO. I mean, it's a great concept, but it's really tough kind of where it's went. So do you think it's completely dead, or do you think this SOS is kind of going to make a resurgence?
I don't think it's as a concept, like you said, help a reporter out. It was a functional way to connect experts with journalists. And fundamentally, in the era of AI, where journalist content now is going to be more scrutinized than ever, they want quality stories, and the way that they bolster the credibility of that story is by citing experts within that story in order to really like drum home the points that they want to make. So I think as a concept, that's not going to go away. If you're reading, an in-depth article about a particular subject matter, and you can see that within that 2 or 3 absolute experts. So if I'm reading about a storm which hits Chicago every 10 years and it's just hit this year, and it brings about a crazy type of beetle, let's say, and there is a Chicago-based pest control expert that's been working and living in that industry for the past 20 years, and he backs up a point that the journalist has made. That is like journalism 101, isn't it? It's like a fundamental part of delivering a quality, facts-based story that gives the reader information and comfort in the fact that there are experts cited within that. So I think functionally, as a tool of the journalist that's writing the best quality content that they can for the publications that they work for, I don't think it's going to die. Although HARO has died, those journalists will just go to other platforms. I think Cision, the company that bought out the original HARO, and then I think was bought by like venture-backed capital, and it probably was just like hey, this is taking more time than it's making money, let's just can it, write it off as a loss, something like that. But no, journalists are continually sourcing, and like I said, you can see them either being curated in platforms such as Press Plugs, Response Source, Editorial, other non-HARO based platforms, or you can just see these journalists requesting for these expert comment pieces on their social media profiles directly, and they'll often hashtag it with hashtag journo request. So yeah, it's alive and well. I don't think it's going anywhere. You just got to know where to look, and if you've got the right expertise as well, then like I said, you've got a real good chance of winning those pitches, getting quoted, and getting amazing links.
Awesome. That's a really good nugget there. And is there like one site in particular you like to look for these journalist requests, or is it kind of just you have to be everywhere?
Yeah, I think the be everywhere thing is good, just because certain journalists for certain publications will like source specifically from one platform. That may change now with the loss of Connectively, but you don't want to miss like a golden opportunity. but yeah, if you can be in as many places as you can, the way I recommend small, like local service businesses that are going to do this on their own to start is look at your competition, see if they've got logos on the front page of their website. So like look for another plumber. It doesn't have to be in your region. Just look for any like high ranking plumbing business and see if you can see that they've got like logos on the front of their website. It'll be like a featured in press badge. And if they have, look at the logos. So if they've been featured in Real Homes, Homes and Gardens, housebeautiful.com, realtor.com, like make a note of those logos. And the chances are they will have won those links via answering journalist requests. And then go out and just try and find journalist requests for those platforms. Because if they've won them, then you can win them as well.
Awesome. I've got kind of an adjacent topic that I'd like to cover. What are your thoughts on these company owners, like, pest control owners, roofers, whoever? Do you think it's important for them to build a personal brand? Like, will that help them build PR and will that kind of strengthen their company brand?
Yeah, I mean, you're the local SEO expert, but yeah, like we're seeing obviously personal branding as a whole is the era that we're living in now, isn't it? In the age of AI. So anything that we can do to build our personal brand and link that to our business brand is going to help in so many aspects. I can't give you a definitive answer now on how the large language models are surfacing the information that they do, but obviously the release of Search GPT, I've been playing around with like local search stuff. So, plumbers in this area, X, Y, and Z. And we're going to need to be there as well. So if you're like a local plumber in the Chicago area, and people are going to be searching outside of Google. So they're going to go into Search GPT and they're going to say, who's a good plumber in Chicago? So we need to make sure that those LLMs, that Search GPT, OpenAI, Gemini, any of these AI models, we want to make sure they're mentioning us, because if they're mentioning our competition, that means, and they're going to be sending clicks to our competition and not to us. So how do we get in there? I can't give you a definitive, digital PR means you get surface number one in LLMs. But we have to assume that being linked to from tier one high-end publications, we know that OpenAI is integrated with Bing. We know that they're going to be pulling results. They're going to be wanting to deliver trustworthy results. And whether or not it's going to be fundamentally based on links or a combination of links and mentions in high-end publications, directories, respected directories, then yeah, I think the more that we can do that, the more that we can link our name with our business. And if we can build, a knowledge panel and a personal brand about us, and then we are linked to our business, it's all going to work hand in hand in appearing multi-platform, multi-search, traditional Google search, Bing, large language model, AI search. Yeah, I think it's really, really important now more than ever.
Definitely. Yeah, no, it's kind of tough. I certainly think, like, no matter what, if you run a digital marketing agency, you have to have a personal brand. Like, it just has to be established. I think there's kind of that missing piece of connectivity where people, don't actually know who you are, and people want to work with people. Now, it's a little bit different with a home service where, people just want, like, any decent plumber. Like, we see you have good reviews. Okay, boom, come over. So I don't know. It's tough with personal brand for home service local businesses. I think it can go either way. I think what makes the difference is you have to be really bought in. So I know different home service local business owners that are like, dude, I am 100% down to do content, like down to, film, 2 or 3 hours a month and, reach out to friends, maybe do content with them. Maybe you do like posts every week. Like some of these guys are already doing like, maybe daily posts on their, their LinkedIn or Facebook, whatever it is. So those guys are bought in. They know the importance of content. They're not afraid to get their face out there. But on the flip side, some people, first off, are not bought in at all, don't really believe in content. They just want leads. And also, they kind of want to like be mysterious. They want to like hide themselves. they don't want to be like famous, that they don't want people to, I don't know, maybe see them in the grocery store. They're like, hey, are you the pest control guy? Some people are a little bit more private. So I think it goes either way, but I think if you are bought into content, you are willing to go kind of the personal brand route, really put yourself out there, then it can definitely power up all the content that you're associated with. So, maybe we could film you talking about something, and now we can put that under your name, and we can like make a blog about it and say, hey, this is him. This is like the pest control expert directly talking about it, versus, I don't know, maybe one of the employees, or, you just don't have an author at all, which usually, ideally, you should have an author for each blog post. And ideally, that's the biggest expert, which should be the company owner. So I don't know. I've really gone back and forth with the personal brand thing. It's really hard to get people to buy in. It's usually the younger guys that are more bought in, like, 40 or below. Some of these pest control guys that are like 60 or 70 years old, they're like, dude, like, social media, I don't even know what that is. I just got on Facebook like a few years ago. So It's tough.
I think that's a really good point, actually. Like, if you're a 60-year-old guy and you rank well in the map pack, and you've got, like 4.9 star reviews from multiple thousands of reviews, and you're getting consistent lead gen from that, then it's going to be a tough sell to say like, hey, you've got to do this as well, or you should be thinking about doing this as well, because like they're probably pretty happy with how things are going. And I think like local SEO is going to be the last thing to be affected from all of these like AI changes and whatnot. But yeah, I think if you're in a slightly more competitive space and you've got like new guys coming in that are doing stuff outside of just, what's been working. In the UK, on TikTok, there's a couple of guys doing TikTok videos for criminal defense lawyers. So this is, if you've been convicted of a criminal of a crime, then you need a criminal defense lawyer in the UK. And there's a couple of guys that I keep seeing on my TikTok feed that are doing this like really short form video content.
Oh yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah, but it's about like, hey, if you get arrested, then they can do this, and this, but they can't do that, and that. And these are young guys, right? Like, I can't imagine like a 70-year-old criminal defense lawyer doing this, but it must be working for them because they're churning this content out, and they're obviously the new upcoming breed within what's probably traditionally quite an older industry. So yeah, it's probably not something you've got to like panic about to do now, but it's probably, if you're in the, like, we keep using Chicago as an example. Let's say you're in the Chicago area and you've got like a couple of big dogs that have been in the game for a couple of decades, let's say, and they're all sort of ranking within the local search map pack, and they're established. But if you start over the next few years getting a couple of younger guys coming in that are doing like, video content, short form video content, TikTok, they're doing like digital PR, they're getting mentioned in regional and national news. At some point, it's going to start being something which the old horses are going to have to like step up and notice, and then up their game at some point.
Definitely. No, that's a recommendation that I have for all pest control companies that are a little bit bigger, maybe, $5 million a year plus. And that goes for any home service, local businesses. They're all kind of the same. I hate to say it, but hiring someone that is, a young guy, young girl that can film content, that knows a little bit about social media. So like another pest control marketing agency guy that I know, he has a new girl on his team that's like, 21 years old, and she films all the content and like some of the local content for, one of their clients in the area. And that is super, super powerful. So, maybe if your agency can be in person, or if you can have, I don't know, maybe it's your son, daughter, niece, nephew, whoever, that they can come on. And obviously they need to know a little bit about social media, SEO, PR, all kinds of digital marketing. But if they do, then that can be incredibly powerful. I totally believe in that, of, recording content and also just making those connections. I feel like there's a huge disconnect right now of, people that are like 50, 60 plus years old. They don't know the value of creating content and getting links and PR.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's that be everywhere multi-touch point strategy as well. well, we're seeing so many changes with like traditional search. So like Google is it's getting hit on like every front. So and like I said, I think local is going to be the sort of the last place that gets truly affected by it. Like, I mean, they've just released another like broad core update, which going through this month of November now. It's hard to like fight that battle, but I think it's possibly a bit easier for local service companies that have got their traditional sources of lead gen. If they're producing blog content and they're building some links and they're ranking and they're getting leads, then it's probably going to take them to notice a decline in that before they say, oh, hey, what's happening here? For the bigger guys, the multi-million guys, then I think it's something which they should be doing as a protection barrier for changes like algo changes and stuff. High DR branded anchor homepage links. It not only boosts all of your existing like on-page efforts with your content, but it also protects you against those more volatile algo updates. And it also goes hand in hand with all of your other marketing efforts. So if you've got a few young people in the company that are going to do some content for you, and you're also doing like PR link building, and you're doing all of these other things, you're diversifying your risk of leads coming from like just a single channel. And then customers that see you in multiple places, they're much more likely to convert if they need like a big job, let's say, and they saw you on TikTok, maybe even if it was just in passing. I don't imagine people go on TikTok and see like a pest control video and go, oh my god, this is the best video I've ever seen, I'm really into pest control now. But like they see a video which is interesting and funny, or they remember the brand name of the company, and then when they do need to use you, and they maybe they saw you in a PR article a few months after that, and then when they go to Google or they do a search, it's that multi-touch point where it's like, okay, I've got these options, but I've seen these guys like 2-3 times before, whether or not it's subconsciously or they remember, but that's going to hopefully drive those conversions.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that's kind of an aspect that's been lost in marketing recently, which I kind of get for smaller companies, but the aspect that I'm talking about is brand awareness. I think brand awareness is actually huge, and most people kind of overlook it, which, if you're just like strictly trying to get leads, up to $1 million a year, I get that. But I'd say after $1 million a year, you really should be pushing on more kind of top of funnel things and more brand awareness. Like, start pumping out more content, start posting on YouTube, start posting on social media, even if it's just like, I hate to say it, but like even once a month. Ideally, you want to shoot for like once a week or so, but just getting your company kind of out there. And just like some small conversion aspects of like when people are searching for pest control, people usually search like pest control near me or pest control Chicago, whatever it is. And then they're given, several options. And the first part is ranking and them seeing you initially. But most people don't talk about then the conversion component, which it's not only ranking number one, but it's then them choosing you after your ranking. So in that conversion component of having a lot of content on your Google Business Profile, like photos, videos, and then they might even check your social media profiles, which a lot of companies don't even link to them. But you should have all your social media profiles linked, and then they should be able to look at your Facebook page, see, oh, wow, these technicians seem so happy and friendly, and they seem like they really know what they're doing. And, oh, okay, that's what the truck looks like. Okay, now I kind of know what it's like to work with them. And now I'm going to choose to work with them. So there's like this whole process of converting someone. It's not just like rank me number one. Like there's so much that goes into actually getting leads and converting them.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Next question I've got for you, Chris, is let's say some company is not doing any PR at all. Like they are not doing anything. Maybe they're doing $1 million a year. They've just kind of gotten by referrals, maybe a little bit of SEO. How does a company get into PR and like building that up?
So if they're, I imagine most companies of that size, they're not going to want to do it themselves. Although I would say a great place to start would be those inbound requests by utilizing some of the experts they have within their business. So they're going to have expert people, highly qualified people that can answer these inbound requests, make it as just a small part of the workflow. Maybe they can just do, a couple of hours on a Friday, let's say, or they can do it an hour a day where they can look at these requests. Maybe they can incentivize those. Maybe they can incentivize those employees or of the company and say, hey, look, if you land us a link or coverage from these efforts, we'll give you, like a bonus. Because, like I said, the hard part for many people is that they don't 100% have those credentials, and they're sort of like trying to blag it a little bit in order to get the link. Whereas if you have these highly qualified people within your business, or as a founder or co-founder, or as the owner of that business, then you can 100% be looking for these opportunities, make it part of your workflow. And like I said, you will get some of these links. For the outbound stuff, so that's where you want to put together an interesting story. There's a bit more work to that. It's a bit more nuanced. You do need to sort of understand the news cycle. These are the stories that can go sort of viral and go everywhere if you get the timings right. If you're doing a reactive piece, like I said, like our Chicago example, if you can jump on that, we've got this crazy weather which we get once every 10 years. It's happened today. We've started to notice these rare beetles or cockroaches appear. If you can put together a story, a tips-based story or a data story, and you can get that out to a really hyper-targeted list of journalists, either regionally or nationally, that would be interested in that, then that's where you can pick up like a bunch of coverage and loads of links. But that is a bit more nuanced, a bit more skilled. So I would suggest doing a combination of both. And I would also suggest that it would be good to hire an agency to do that for you, just because it's going to save you that time and effort. But there are definitely ways you can get started without having to rely on an agency, and that would be by utilizing your existing experts within your company and have them answering journalists directly.
Awesome. And how would you go about like building a list of local journalists? How do you find those people?
Okay, yeah. So I mean, you can do the inbound. There, you just need to be on the platforms where they're sourcing. If you're going to do an outbound piece, you can 100% do that on your own. And if you want to build that list of journalists, then there's a few ways you can do that. So you can use the tools. They do come with a bit of a hefty price tag. They have all those like fancy filters and whatnot. But for local service businesses, really what you want to do is you want to be targeting like regional, local news. And the way that you can do that is you obviously know the local publications within your area. And you can do like a keyword search. So pest control, Chicago, let's say. Set a filter in Google for the past 6 months, and you're going to see all of the publications that have covered a pest control related topic in that area in the past few months. Just scrape that data, scrape those publications, scrape the journalists. Then you need to try and find those corresponding journalists' emails. That's usually quite easy, albeit manual. Like journalists, they're not hiding. Like they usually have a forward-facing email because they're journalists and they want to be contacted. Yeah. But it's a bit of sort of spreadsheety sort of, okay, this journalist from this publication in Chicago wrote about pest control in the past 6 months. Okay, it's a really good publication. How do we determine a good publication? For us, normally we look at a couple of metrics. So Ahrefs domain rating, or you can use Moz's DA. And we also look at organic traffic as well, as per like Ahrefs or Moz, like a third party tool. We want to see like a high DR, a high DA, and high organic traffic. That's normally how we determine like or validate like a good publication. But again, if you've got like a local, a Chicago-based pest control publication, then you'd obviously want to include a journalist or a writer from that within your list. So you also want to look at relevancy as well. So hyper relevant, hyper relevancy would be like a deciding factor outside of DR and traffic, just because obviously, you want to be on a news publication or a pest control news publication or a national pest control news publication. So make sure you've got all of those. Find all the journalists, get their email addresses, and then you've built your list then, and it's hyper targeted. You know that these journalists have covered those stories in the past 6 months because you found those articles in Google, and then you can then also enrich that list further by looking for. You can either broaden the search of the time frame, so journalists that have covered stories, let's say in the past 12 months, or you can go to specific publications that you know of within your local area. Maybe they're not specifically covering stories on pest control, but maybe you want to cover all of the Chicago regional publications, especially if we've got a 10-year, once every 10-year weather phenomenon. It doesn't need to, maybe that publication hasn't covered that story in a long time, but is so relevant to the Chicago area that they're going to cover those stories.
Awesome. That was fantastic advice. I think people will really take something away from that of you can look at who's already done it. So the same way as like when you want to, like rank number one on Google, this isn't like some kind of wizardry. Someone is already ranking number one on Google. The same way as someone already had some PR in, like Pest Control Chicago. So looking at seeing who's already done that, how did they do that? What was it? Did it have to be a huge company, or was it a company your same size? So I think that's a really good piece of advice that I've frankly never thought of. So that's great. And you already answered the next question I was going to ask, which is, how do you determine, which is a good site? But I want to dive into that a little bit deeper of, you say high DR, high traffic, but like what specifically in those metrics, like 30 DR, 50 DR, what exactly?
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky. So for us, really, it's all about being editorially earned. So we're specifically trying to earn media, earn coverage, and earn the links. So that's specifically not buying links, niche edits, guest posts. We're doing the exact opposite of that. We want to earn the media. So we want to be providing value, either as expert commentary directly to a journalist request, or outbound going to the journalist with a story, and the journalist going, whoa, this story is so good, I want to write about this. And therefore we earn the coverage. So we normally look for journalists that write for established, like household name publications. And then as well as that, you will enrich that with industry specific publications, so it's difficult for me to say like, oh, we only go after X, Y, and Z, like as an agency. I can tell you our average DR over the past 12 months for all of the links that we built in the past 12 months has been above 79, and the average domain traffic in the millions. So it's wow. Very, very high, very, very high. But that's not to say like if you were going to do this yourself and you're a home service industry and you're going to put together a campaign. I mean, the other thing to mention as well is PR. There isn't like a never-ending list of journalists and publications. It becomes a bit less scary when you think actually there aren't this indefinite list of publications that are hiring journalists to write content for them. It's once you break it down to okay, which publications have got real journalists writing for them, and can I find these journalists? It actually then becomes a much sort of smaller list. And if it is a real publication that's hiring journalists, the chances are that it's a high DR, high traffic website, because they're in the business of paying somebody to write journalistic content on a website which makes them money. So I would say you want to like build your journalist lists based on the credibility of a combination of the journalist and the publication, and that normally means it's a well-regarded journalist on a high domain rated domain and high traffic. But then again, if it's hyper niche specific, industry specific publication, you may have lower metrics, like for example pestworldchicago.com might be like a DR 48 with like, I don't know, 10,000 a month traffic, let's say, which for us would seem like a lower link than we would normally deliver in like a campaign set of links, let's say. But if it was a Chicago-based pest control client, then we would really think that they would be really pleased with to be featured in that publication. And then you can get a bit more granular on checking those industry specific publications just to make sure you're not falling into a trap. Like you want to make sure that it's a legit site. The PR space is not without its controversy. Certain journalists are pretending to be journalists. Certain publications, they may be lying about who they're writing for. So you do need to do some checks. Obviously, most journalists are pretty easy to verify. It's like, okay, we know this journalist from Forbes, this from BBC, from New York Times. But for the more industry specific sites where you do need to be, make sure it's not just like a guest post farm that's like pretending to be doing PR. Have a look at like the outbound link profile. Make sure they're not linking to like a bunch of casino stuff. Make sure you're not seeing like a big decline in organic traffic over the past few months, like a site that's been hit or penalized. But again, like if you're doing this yourself and you're in pest control space in the Chicago area, I imagine the legit pest control publications within your space. So
yeah, awesome. Yeah. Really good advice. And I'm curious, so you have a huge emphasis on earned media instead of paid media. Can you talk about kind of the difference and why you focus more on earned?
Yeah, well, it's for the sort of link building we do, it's you can't pay. So if you are paying, it's not editorially earned media, and you can buy those links from somebody else's list for an agreed upon amount, and that's a transactional sort of process to gain links. So if I want to give a local pest control agency like a really good 5-link campaign or 10-link campaign, then we want to make sure that what they've bought is links that they couldn't just go and find like somebody else that could just go and buy them. And that's like the point of PR for us and for real PR agencies. So you'll get unscrupulous vendors operating within the space that will say, oh yeah, we're a PR agency, we'll get you some really good PR links. And then it'll be like, it's not a PR link. They've just bought it. They've just paid off a website, off a guest post, and just made it look like a PR link. But you have to be careful because, like, obviously we know that that's garbage. I have people reach out to me and say, oh, someone's just offered me a PR campaign for like $100 a link for 5 links. I'm like, have you asked for a sample link report? I'm like, yeah. Oh, can I see it? Yeah. See the sample link report? This is like a purchased newswire for $150. It's just, you just buy these, they go on a newswire, they go out to newswire sites. It's not earned. It's got 0 value. You may as well just chuck that money in the bin. Whereas if you stay with us, or you do a campaign on yourself where you're targeting those editorially earned media placements by delivering value, and you get those links on realtor.com, DR90 with 10 million organic traffic, it's going to be doing, first of all, it's doing something above and beyond just a garbage link which you've bought and doesn't have any effect. It's then you're aligning yourself with a hugely trusted website in Google's eyes. Also your customers' eyes. If you've got featured in realtor.com on the front of your website, you're aligning yourself with a very well established trusted brand. So you're building brand credibility, increasing the conversion of the customer that lands on your website and goes, oh, okay, these guys have been featured in like 4 or 5 places I've heard of. And they can go to those articles and see that the founder has given expert commentary on a pest control issue in Forbes.com. Wow, this guy really knows what he's talking about. So it builds your EEAT, trust with customers, Google, SEO, obviously the benefits there. It's so far above and beyond that of just, I'll go and buy three links from this Google sheet list that someone sent me.
Yeah, definitely. No, and this really hammers home the point that quality links are so much more valuable than the quantity of links. So, I mean, I think, the site like that, like realtor.com or whatever it is that has like a 90 DR and 10 million visitors a month, a link from that site is more valuable than 90% of the links in the world. Like to have that link is better than getting like, 10,000 random, PR sites that have like a DR0, no traffic. It's just like a random site. They're all kind of aggregated. Whereas also like a kind of a good principle to follow is the harder it is to get the link, usually the more valuable it is. So those sites that are super tough to get on, when you get it, that means almost no one else is getting it because, you're really trying, you did everything you can. Now maybe you have like an insane story about pest control in the area. You finally got on. If you're really working for a link, then that means almost no one else has it, right?
Yeah, 100%. And on top of that as well, like I'm not somebody that like comes onto a podcast and says like you should only do PR link building. Like I understand how links work, how Google works. Like you need inner page links as well. You need your social links is like the first links that you should build your fortress. You should be getting like directory links. These sorts of like other links. If you need to have like a natural looking backlink profile as much as possible, mix of do follow, no follow. So if I wouldn't ever say to anyone, you should only do digital PR link building and build homepage branded anchor links like continuously and only because you might have like a service page which is ranking page 5, let's say page 5, spot 5 on page 1, and a couple of inner page links on guest posts or niche edits to that particular page with a well selected anchor text. It's going to jump that up like 2-3 spots, which is going to make you a shit ton more money than where it is on spot 5 if it is. But what I'm saying is the digital PR link building has so many benefits. First of all, it's going to protect those naughtier efforts of I'm going to just buy a couple of niche efforts. Okay, yeah, we all know it works, we all know it's good, but are you protecting that by having some is Google just going to go, well, every link you've got is just like a link to your service page with like a really specific anchor text, and it's gonna whereas if he's also getting a link from Forbes, he's also getting a link from okay, maybe this waters down the the chances, let's say, and then it also powers up all your other efforts. You get all of that homepage link juice getting sent from these huge authority links to the homepage, so that link juice is spreading through your website, passing page rank, and then it's going to bolster all of your on-page SEO efforts, your content efforts, and power up all those other links that you've got, those internal links. And it just sort of builds upon itself to have this like exponential trajectory in search visibility.
Definitely. No, that's a super good caveat, is that it should never look like clear manipulation. Like don't just build a ton of super high authority links that all have the exact same anchor text, which is like the text that is used to link to the specific page, and they're all linking to the same page. Like, no, you should vary everything up. It should not look like you're doing anything suspicious. It should look completely organic, just like you're an actual real company, which you are, that is, building PR and that people actually want to link to, and, you're establishing these relationships. So that's very important as well. And I kind of just want to ask you, like, what is the future of PR? So I know HARO's kind of dying off, but there's these other aspects. Like, what do you see in the next few years of PR? What will that look like?
I think there has been an influx of, I think it's become like the sort of link building which is like sexy. So there's an influx of people offering it. I think you've got to be careful, make sure, like I said, if you don't fully understand the intricacies of like links and stuff, you can be easily fooled from the difference between like true editorially earned PR and what the deliverables are being given. So we just do a link set number of links in a package, and we execute a range of digital PR strategies continuously and indefinitely until we land the number of links that you've got. And we're proud of all the links that we would build within that package. So I think there's going to be some education on like the client side in order for them to say, well, I could buy 5 links from here for like $100 a link each, and they don't fully understand that that's like 5 guest posts, whereas they've spent, let's say, $3,500 on 5 links that's taken 4 months to deliver as opposed to like 3 days to deliver. But actually at the end of that campaign, they've been featured and quoted and linked to from Forbes and 4 other huge sites. So I think there's an education on the client side. I also think that, like you said earlier, Danny, I think it's going to be social media and doing stuff with the community and sharing information, these things get picked up naturally for PR anyway. We see TikTok being quoted in the news continuously now. Like it's it's always happening because it's interesting to people, and that is what people are doing with their time. That's what people are looking at. So this stuff is getting picked up continuously. So if you can find a way to resonate and connect with your audience via these forms of social media, then you're going to generate PR anyway. And I think the people that are going to be most successful in this era of like building brand and building buzz and hype around a company are these people that it doesn't even need to be crazy. It can be simple. But like I mentioned earlier, these two UK guys who are just doing these really short 30-second TikTok videos, and they're criminal defense lawyers, and they're sort of just telling you like rights that you like might not have known that you had, but you have got, and it's really interesting. So they're not doing anything crazy. They haven't got video editors, script writers, it's just them speaking, but they do it in a way which is really interesting. And hey, look, hopefully I'll never need a criminal defense lawyer, but I'm going to remember these guys. When the door comes a knocking, I mean, this strategy will have worked for them.
Yeah. No, it's a really basic law of psychology of people you see more, you like more. So something I've really been trying to do is just post on social media every day. And like I had a call with a prospect the other day. He's like, dude, like, good job. I'm seeing your stuff everywhere. Like I'm seeing you all the time. That's the goal for you facing your prospects. That's the frame, is that they see you all the time and they just can't help but kind of like you because your content is valuable and you're entertaining and okay, cool, he's doing this, I can kind of learn a bit about his personal life. So yeah, I'm a huge advocate for everything social media. I think that's where everything's heading.
Yeah, I think it's just it's harder for some established industries, and if you've been doing something a certain way for a long time. But I'd say just like have fun with it and give it a try. There's nothing like giving your expert commentary to a super high-end publication and then picking up your quotes and you getting a link on a massive website. Share it with your friends, share it with your colleagues, pick up the phone, record a TikTok video. Like, just get started. You might find that something's really, really resonates with you. Something's really like a natural fit for you, and you can grow and expand on that. But yeah, I wouldn't be afraid to try stuff because everything is changing. I mean, search as we know it is probably not going to look the same in a year's time, 2 years time, 3 years time. So we've got to be ready to adapt anyway. So you may as well start sort of trying a bunch of stuff to see what's going to be a good fit for you when these changes come.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I think that's a great place to end the podcast. Learned a ton from you, Chris. Super great to have you on. And where can people, learn more about you and, about your services? Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Danny. Yeah, it's been really good. They can go to linkify.io or email me at chris@linkify.io or LinkedIn, Christopher Pantelli, or I might have changed it to Chris Panteli. I can't remember.
Christopher, last I checked.
Oh, was it? Okay, there we go. That's what my mom says to me when I've been when she's not happy with me. I get called Christopher,
yeah,
as opposed to Chris. Yeah, or Twitter as well. Linkify_.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I will link all of those in the description. And yeah, it's been so great having you on, Chris. And also, I was on your podcast, I don't know, a month ago. I still haven't gotten it released, but that's something to look forward to as well. Hopefully that will come out shortly. Yeah, maybe we'll have it will align, the stars will align, and we'll release each other's on the same day, depending on when the edits. That'd be funny. Okay, cool, cheers. Man. I appreciate your time, and we'll stay in touch. All right, bye, Chris. Thanks, Danny. Take care. Yeah, bye.